So, it's been a while since we've discussed the Calgary Flames and their entire situation with their guys. They're becoming a younger team. And I think because of the way the past year or so has gone in terms of Calgary Flames UFAs to be, how pretty much everybody except for Backlund ended up leaving, traded away Markstrom, traded away Toffoli, traded away Lindholm, traded away Zadorov, traded away Hanifin, traded away everybody, essentially. There are a few guys that are still on the team that have not been traded away, and guys who don't even happen to be UFAs in the near future. These guys have been signed and locked on for the next few years worth of Calgary Flames hockey. And in this video, what I wanted to do was focus on one of them whose name has entered the trade conversation and who's apparently in a much more likely place to get moved than you might have anticipated. Today we are talking about Nazem Kadri. Yeah, we're talking about Naz here, baby, because when it comes to the 33-year-old center for Calgary, he's making $7 million a year till the end of 2028-2029. Now, last season, he had produced 75 points in 82 games played. That's pretty good, in fact. A huge increase over the 56 points he had had in 82 games played in 2022-2023. He kind of took over the reins as to what Tyler Toffoli did point production-wise for the Flames, and when it comes to Kadri, he certainly has had a much easier time, I would say, transitioning his offense and becoming an effective point producer than the other guy who is overpaid and overtermed on this team in Jonathan Huberdeau. Now, I get it, you could say it's nobody's fault that Nazem Kadri and Jonathan Huberdeau ended up on the same team at the same time, pretty much living vicariously through the same precarious situation after having success on their former teams. But when you think about how Jonathan Huberdeau was recently labeled as the worst contract in the NHL by the folks over at The Athletic, and you think about how Nazem Kadri recently led the team in points, you can understand that for Naz, he is seen as a lot more of a valuable option than Huberdeau. This is why we go over to Edmonton Sports Talk's YouTube channel, because about a week ago on July 13th, they had themselves David Pagnotta on the phone, acting as a guest speaker to update them with the latest trade rumors. This is where we talk about what he had said about Nazem Kadri, and to help us out, we're going on to an article published by Dave Littman from earlier this morning that talks about David Pagnotta's comments on this show. Take a look at this. We've heard the rumors out there that Calgary could be willing to trade Nazem Kadri. He's out there, said insider David Pagnotta. The Flames are willing to explore that possibility. But with Nazem Kadri's full no-movement clause, many figured that nothing could come out of it. Pagnotta, however, while not saying that anything is imminent, does reveal that it's not totally out of the question, and that Kadri would be open to a trade in certain circumstances. My understanding with respect to Kadri is that he is willing to waive that no-move clause for the right situation. I think he would welcome a return to Colorado. Ooh, boy, Okay, the Colorado Avalanche. Interesting. Now, I'll say this right here. When it comes to the Avs, let's go over onto their Puckpedia page, not their cap-friendly page. I'm still trying to get used to saying that. It doesn't flow off the tongue as much as cap-friendly does, unfortunately. But the Colorado Avalanche do have about $4.7 million in projected cap space. And when it comes to guys that they need to re-sign, they don't really have anybody. They've got Andrew Cogliano and Zach Parise, but I think, keeping up to date with the rumor mill and taking a look at where these guys are going, I mean, they're 39 and 37 years old. We'll just leave it at that for now. They also have Valeri Nichushkin making $6.125 million a year right now, too. But depending on what happens with him in his situation, who really knows if that money is going to get freed up anytime soon? So, long story short, the Colorado Avalanche actually do have the money to take on a guy like Nazem Kadri, assuming there's like a 50% salary retained or whatever on that deal. Now, 50% is a huge ask for a team like Calgary to hold on to, especially when you consider the contract is not a rental. This thing goes on till 2029. Holding on to $3.5 million a year till 2029 is unheard of territory. But if the Calgary Flames wanted to commit themselves to rebuilding, retooling on the fly, I get it, they say we're not rebuilding, but they just kind of trade away everybody who's over the age of 26 anyway. If they're in a position, if they want to commit to these younger guys, then why not use all the leverage you have available to you into getting more assets and getting more picks? Now, when it comes to the Colorado Avalanche, they do have some players that I do think are worthwhile thinking about, that are young, that were drafted recently. I mean, Callum Ritchie was a first-rounder from last year. He's a pretty alright player. Oscar Olausson from a few years ago, I think, is a good name. Sean Behrens is a defenseman from the NTDP that I've liked a lot. But honestly, the Avalanche don't really have too many prospects. They had a lot of picks in this most recent draft, but most of those were in the 5th and 7th rounds. The thing is, though, this team is willing to shell out draft capital if it means getting guys. And if they wanted to get some sort of a Kadri reunion going on here, David Pagnotta suggests that he would be willing to waive for that situation. Let's go back over onto the article here and finish up the thoughts. The Avalanche currently have $4.7 million of cap space, certainly not enough to take on that full Kadri contract. And as Pagnotta notes, a return to Colorado is most likely not in the cards, but he does suggest that heading somewhere back east could appeal to the London, Ontario native a little closer to home. The Flames are in some sort of a purgatory state currently, willing to listen on everything, but with many wondering whether this is a full-on rebuild or a more minor retooling, a trade of Kadri would certainly be indicative of a tear-it-down type situation, so we'll keep an eye out on what GM Craig Conroy does next. Now, if you wanted to get all crazy 3D chess kinda on the situation here, I would propose, honestly, something like a Valeri Nichushkin sort of move. If you wanted to include Kadri for Nichushkin, if you don't think that Nichushkin's actually going to be an option for the Colorado Avalanche, guess what? He's got no move protection too, but with all the crap that Nichushkin has gone through the past few years here, there may be an option where Colorado forces his hand and says, hey, look, we gotta move on from you. Like, you are just screwing over yourself, you're screwing over us because you're not making yourself available to us with the way you're screwing over yourself. And I'm being very harsh in my language because, you know, obviously NHL players' assistance stuff is very sensitive, but for Valeri Nichushkin, this goes beyond that. He is literally violating the rules that the NHL Players Assistance Program has given him. It's why his period in the program was extended. The guy's getting suspended without pay for half a year. So when it comes to Nichushkin, if the Colorado Avalanche said, hey, look, we cannot handle this, you are unreliable, you're a great player, you score goals, but if you put yourself in a spot where you're forced to miss out on the playoffs and we're forced to try to advance without you, we would much rather trade you and use somebody else with that money that will actually be able to play for us and not get suspended. Like, sorry Nichushkin, but his career in Colorado could very well be done after this season. So, if the Avs wanted to force some sort of a trade to go down, I would not be surprised if that's the option here. Hey, get that Nichushkin contract off the books, get Kadri in, and everything works out. And for the Calgary Flames, they could be the ultimate mediators here. Hey, if they want to commit to this rebuild, get all the younger assets and prospects they can, take on Nuke in his contract, get it on for the next few years. And if best case scenario, Valeri Nichushkin actually recovers and he becomes an NHL player again, then he's a good add to the Calgary Flames. He's younger than Kadri too, so it fits a little bit better, right? There are a lot of options here when it comes to the Nazem Kadri trade idea, but for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the entire idea of Kadri getting traded back over to Colorado? David Pagnotta mentions that this is one of the teams that he may be willing to waive his no-move clause to, but the Calgary Flames are indeed listening on offers for pretty much everybody under the sun here, Kadri included. So, if you're a fan of the Flames, what is it that you would want in exchange for a guy like Kadri? If you're a fan of the Avalanche, what are your thoughts on acquiring him once more? Do you think you need the center to play under Nathan MacKinnon? Do you think this is the valuable addition you could make with the Valeri Nichushkin dollars? And what else do you think needs to get added into a trade for it to go through? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Avalanche, the Flames, Kadri, I guess Nichushkin as well. Honestly, that's not really a thing from Pagnotta. I just kind of spat that off the dome myself. But thoughts in the comments either way about all of this stuff, and do you see a trade going down soon? Article will be linked in the description if you want to read that yourself. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.